said, I guess, make sure to like the video if you like the video, and also just subscribe to the channel if you do enjoy as well. And yeah, let's get right into tonight's video. Okay, so now that we are doing this, let's try to make a little title here. I'm just gonna put, let's put top 10 that's kind of centered, I guess you could say. Maybe not, actually. But, oh well, it'll have to do for now. So, top 10 ringless NBA stars of all time. Now, this is a list I found online. Again, this is a list, this is not my own list. Just to sort of get, the video going and not having me take 3 hours out of my day to sort of help try to sit down here while it's already almost past 1 in the morning to do this video and sort of help myself think. I'll just do this one. So, at number 10 on this list, let's write this down real quick. Number 10. Hopefully you guys can see that. At number 10 here, they have listed already a player who is still currently in the NBA. And that is Russell Westbrook. For me personally, when thinking about current NBA players still in the NBA, it's hard to sort of rank those guys on this list because, there are a plethora of players like Russell Westbrook who are absolutely bona fide Hall of Fame players. Russell Westbrook being, an MVP, the first sort of triple-double guard, coming before Oscar Robertson, having, crazy seasons with the Thunder, and then, now on the Wizards are sort of more of a rebuilding team, so it's kind of hard to put, Russell in a spot where, his career isn't over, and he's still a player who's definitely capable of helping a team make it to a title if, that opportunity ever does come for him. I don't know if it's going to happen in Washington or not, but, it's interesting to put him on this list because you can put him, high up on the list, but you can also put him off the list because he's not, done with his career. It's kind of tough. So as I was saying, making my own list, I don't even know where to put these guys, but they put them at number 10. Obviously, Russell Westbrook being, a great player already, with this career not even over yet, he might even not even need to be on this list by the time his career is over and done with. But number 10, Russell Westbrook, that's a really good player to start out with. Wow. Let's see who they have next up at number 9. Number 9. centers, all time. You talk about, Kareem, Hakeem, Shaq, David Robinson. You gotta mention Patrick Ewing in there sometime. And the thing is, would I put him over Russell Westbrook? In my opinion, I think probably not. I think I'd put Russell Westbrook over him. But then again, like I said, Russell Westbrook's career isn't over yet, so it's very hard to rank him. I could make this a sort of like retired only player one, but then again, that's not even really that fun to do. So, because there's still a lot of great players in the NBA who are, on the older side, who do deserve to be on this list. We could talk about them, but maybe some of them might be on the list. I don't know. But Patrick Ewing is a really, 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 really good player, but so is Russell Westbrook. So it's kind of hard to sort of rank these guys. But Patrick Ewing just decided to play basketball at a very bad time, I guess. But now we're at number 8. Let's see what they have at number 8. Number 8. Number 8. Oh. I don't know if I agree with this. I don't know. I have to see who else is on this list. But no offense to this guy. I don't know. He might be a guy I might kick off later. But since this is not my list, let's just put him down here. At number 8. That's a really bad G, sorry. O-R-G. We have George Gervin from the San Antonio Spurs. Yes, the Iceman, finger roll himself. George Gervin. Yes, George Gervin has never won an NBA title, but is also known for being one of the best scorers of, basically of all time. His career average is 25 points per game, which I feel like is super underrated. But, he is in the Hall of Fame, 12-time All-Star, 4-time. He led the league in scoring 4 times, 7 all-NBA team member. That's super crazy. Was also an All-Star Game MVP, and like I said, he was, one of the best scorers in the league during that time. Let's see, at the most, at his peak, he averaged 33.1 points per game in the year 1979-1980. Also in the year 1981, averaged 32 points per game. Just an absolute stud when scoring the ball. But then again, I don't know if I'd really put him up on this list. It says here George Gervin got close to an NBA Finals in 1979 when he dropped 42 points in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals against the Washington Bullets, but still ended up losing that game. So, kind of like how a lot of players are, maybe even in today's NBA, can put up good numbers, but those good numbers don't really transition into winning a basketball. So that's really sad to see. Man. George Gervin, does he deserve to be on the list? I don't know. Like I said, I still have to see if other names. If I'm comparing George Gervin to like Patrick Ewing or Russell Westbrook, then no, I don't think I like George Gervin, but he is just a really good scorer. I don't really see him on the same level as like the star power of Patrick Ewing or Russell Westbrook is. Now we're on to number 7. Number 7 here. Number 7, let's see. Ooh. Wow, this guy potentially at the end of his career has the potential, if he doesn't win a ring, to be, a top 5, maybe even number 1 on this list. But I do think this player, by the end of even this year, will not even need. Sorry, this his entire career, I'm not really entirely sure because, again, he's had a lot of sort of opportunities. Obviously, his first one, like we talked about before, was Westbrook being on that Thunder team against LeBron James' team, but I think we all probably knew that team wasn't going to beat that team. You know, maybe in the next year or two could they have, maybe, but their talent wasn't sort of at their peaks yet. And then obviously in, I think it was 2017, that Houston Rockets team went up against the Golden State Warriors, and the Warriors, I mean, the Rockets should have won that series, but obviously, you know, that cold streak the Rockets had sort of lost in that game, and then also Chris Paul also being injured sort of hurt that, but I think the Rockets definitely would have won a title that year if they would have stayed on course. So he definitely had a lot of opportunity now this year, having arguably his greatest opportunity with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. So I don't think he's going to be on this list at the end of this year in a couple months. Definitely deserves to be on the list, but again, sort of like Russell Westbrook, where do you sort of rank him? Because his career isn't over yet. That's where the conversation gets kind of tough. Next up at number 6. Let's see. Ooh. This is a very, 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 very controversial because this guy has, again, the potential to be number 1 on the list because on a lot of people's eyes, he is one of the greatest players of all time. Some people's, and I guess some players' favorite player of all time. I'm very surprised they rated him so low, and we're already talking about him, but we have here Allen Iverson. Wow, that's pretty rough, I'm not gonna lie. Already talking about Allen Iverson again, like I said, being always argued as, you know, one of the best underdogs, one of the best underappreciated, one of the best this, one of the best that. Obviously, Allen Iverson having a run at the title in the early 2000s, I want to say 2001, but obviously going up against, you know, Kobe and Shaq's Lakers team, with only just Allen Iverson, wasn't really the greatest thing to sort of fall into his lap, but again, at least he made it to a finals, also being an MVP, leading the league in scoring for multiple years, I think. Just a crazy individual player, sort of like James Harden, just leading the pack for his squad, just not having enough oomph to his teams against the sort of powerhouses of the NBA during that time period. So, man, Allen Iverson obviously does deserve to be on the list, but I think he at least deserves to be top 5. I don't know why they would not make him top 5. I need to see the other players they have listed up on this list, but man. And that's what I'm talking about with, like, when, you know, Allen Iverson, Patrick Ewing, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, like, those are big time players, like, arguably could be a best player on a championship winning team, but, and then you have just George Gervin here. It's very random and kind of out of place, so no offense to George Gervin if this was my list. I don't think he would really be on there, but Allen Iverson, I think Allen Iverson definitely deserves to be on the list, and a lot higher up, at least in mine, at least one spot higher can be my sort of my go-to thing. But let's see here. Now we have number 5, our top 5 here, and I'm very interested to see who they have in their top 5, because my top 5 might already have some players that are already listed here. I'll get into that later on, but let's see. an assist record that, in my opinion, will never be broken. I don't think John Stockton's assist record will ever be broken. He is obviously an all-time steals leader, a Hall of Famer, was on the dream team, this, that, and the other. If you just want to talk about him individually as a player, amazing. Him with his running mate Karl Malone, who, no doubt he's probably going to be on the list. Just one of the greatest dynamic duos of all time. A little bit of an undersized guard, which is probably why he gets sort of overlooked a lot, just because, he doesn't have the sort of look of an NBA sort of star, so that might also be a reason why a lot of people forget about John Stockton, how good he is. But regular season MVP as well. You know, having crazy career averages of like 25 points per game, 28 points per game, 25 points per game, 28 points per game, 23, 23, 19 points. Some seasons averaging 14 rebounds, 12 rebounds, 11 rebounds, 10 rebounds, 11 rebounds, 12 rebounds, 11 rebounds, 13 rebounds a game. Just a super consistent, great double-double machine. And obviously, going up against Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls, and I think the later 90s, I think like 95 maybe, sometime around there, Charles Barkley was with or maybe it was like 93, because I think it was the same year I think he won MVP, was the year he lost. And it was him on the Phoenix Suns with him and Dan Marley, Kevin Johnson, that Phoenix Suns team, and they ended up losing to Michael Jordan. But you know, it's really sad. And then he joined the Houston Rockets and they couldn't really win there either. But you know, man, I think, in my opinion, Baylor might be number 2, just because, again, Baylor being 0-8, only losing to the player who has the most championships of all time in Bill Russell. I think that might put Elgin, in my opinion, over Charles Barkley. At least in my opinion. And then I think Baylor could just probably do more than Charles Barkley individually as a player. So I think Elgin might be my number 2, and then Charles might be my number 3. But now we're talking about some honorable mentions that are not going to be on the list, which is kind of sad. I'm very disappointed that Chris Paul, Carmelo Anthony are not on this list. That really upsets me. In my opinion, I'm taking George Gervin off, and I'm putting Chris Paul on this list. Maybe even at number 8. I think number 8 for Chris Paul would be really good. Obviously, Chris Paul being known as, you know, one of the greatest point guards of all time, if not, you know, a top 3 pure, if we're talking pure point guard, making teams better as the point guard position, being the playmaker, the facilitator, everything like a point guard is meant to be. Chris Paul might be the best at that, you know what I mean? So, I think he definitely deserves to be on this list. I think I'd put him at number 8 instead of George Gervin. I think that'd be a good spot for him. And then Carmelo, obviously being one of the best scorers of all time. I think you can also throw his hat in to having a spot on this list. What other players can I think of? I'm trying to think. Maybe players who didn't have that sort of, you know, who didn't really reach their true potential. Maybe like, I don't know, like a Tracy McGrady or a Grant Hill. That might be a player you could throw in there as well. Dominique Wilkins, that's a good one. Reggie Miller, Vince Carter, Pistol Pete Maravich. You know, there's a lot of good players' names. And then if you want to go even like reaching even further, you could throw in there like a Derrick Rose type of player. You could throw in there and their name in the hat, but not bad. But I think definitely Chris Paul deserves his name on the list. But at number 1, you could probably sort of guess it, and this is definitely a player whose name on this list, I guess, makes sense on a basketball sort of point of view. And again, this is not my list, and I don't think this player would be number 1 in my list. And that is on this list that I'm reading off online is Karl Malone. And obviously Karl Malone, you know, having the second most points in NBA history. Obviously, again, being the roommate of John Stockton, being a dominant power forward, you know, this, that, and the other, being, you know, a really good talent in the NBA. Obviously makes a lot of sense that he would probably be number 1 on a lot of teams' list. But in my opinion, oh man, is he number 1? You know, Baylor might actually be number 1 on my list. Because with him, man, he went to the finals 8 times and lost all 8. That is such bad luck. I might go Elgin 1. Maybe Karl Malone 2, maybe. Charles Barkley, maybe 3. And then I'd probably go Stockton 4, Iverson 5. Then I might go at 6, or maybe Harden at 6. One of the two. And then probably Chris Paul at 8. And then maybe Russ at 9. And then Patrick Ewing at 10. I think that might be my top 10. Again, this is why I didn't want to do my own top 10, because I don't even know. I can't set in stone a list. It's very hard for me, so that's why I just took one online. But I think this is a very okay list. Again, I think Nash is kind of high. I think Iverson deserves to be at least top 5. George Irving, in my opinion, doesn't deserve to be on the list. I think Chris Paul does.